From the National Weather Service in Raleigh, it's Nick Petro with your 4 p.m. update here on Friday, the 8th of January, for this winter weather event. And the changes since our last briefing at 9 a.m., we have replaced the winter storm warning that was in effect for Forsyth, Guilford, Davidson, and Randolph County. We replaced that with an advisory. The criteria for an advisory, well, the criteria for a warning is 3 inches of snow. We're not going to hit that. So anyway, but there is going to be a coating of snow. We're fairly confident. So therefore, we didn't want to leave you with anything. So we went ahead and changed that to an advisory. All right. So that's the main change. Let me switch to the current conditions. That's always a good place to start. And let's see, what do I got here? So this is current radar. Well, let me use something else here. Hang on, let me switch to GR Earth. All right, so this is current radar. And what I've just done there is I've turned off. This program has a tool that tries to identify where it is snowing and where it's raining. So that's just the radar. And then when I turn on the precip type indicator, what it tries to do is figure out where it's snowing. And sometimes it's right, sometimes it's not right. So, for example, it's snowing right now in North Wilkesboro, but it's painting it green as if it were rain. It's there's mixed precip at Mount Airy, but it's painting it green, and light snow at Martinsville, but it's painting it green. Likewise, Burlington's reporting light rain, and it's painting that as snow. So if you have one of these programs that you use at home or you use at the office, just be very careful when you're using this precip type indicator. The best way to know what it's really doing is to look at the actual observations. So, for instance, at Rockingham Airport, there it's 32.4 and light rain. So there should be a switch over there fairly soon. Greensboro, the latest ob from the airport there is light snow, rain, and ice pellets. So a little mixture of snow there. And so you could see, but that's about it. It looks like Winston-Salem. Well, Winston-Salem is reporting light snow as of the last ob there at let's see, that would be 3:54. So just a short time ago. Everywhere else, you can believe the green coloring because it is rain once you get basically south of I-85. So anyway. Yeah, I mean, basically, it's. I would have expected, or at least our expectations when we talked yesterday, and when we talked even this morning, was that this whole area would be snow by now, and it really it has not yet changed to all snow everywhere in that zone. And remember, we've been talking the last few days how difficult, number one, it is to have very light wintry weather events during the daytime. So when the precip is falling very lightly, which it generally has been, these radar returns are not particularly heavy. Okay, we see some light blues and only a few greens and virtually no yellows. So it's been very light. And when you have temperatures that are barely cold enough for snow, and then it rains very lightly, the likelihood, and it happens during the daytime, the likelihood of getting a full-on snow is unlikely. So anyway, looks like we it hasn't quite materialized thanks to light rates, marginally cold temperatures, daytime. So, however, now that we're moving towards the evening and evening hours, sun's going to set here within another hour and a half, 2 hours at most. By 2 hours from now, it'll be dark. We can remove the daytime and the heating element in that regard, and also in the next 2 hours, the overall low pressure system is going to be beginning to move to the east. So some of these colder temperatures that you see will begin wrapping around and wrapping into more of central North Carolina as the system slowly moves eastward. All right. So hang in there. Clearly, since we missed out on some opportunity for snow in the first half of the day, and I'm talking particularly the Triad region and points along and north of 85, obviously we've had to reduce our snowfall totals, and that's why we've changed the warning to an advisory for the triad, because we're just not going to hit those 3-inch values. All right, so which is good, but the event's not over yet. I did underline the word here. Most places will see less than 1 inch of snow, and that's basically all of central North Carolina. A couple isolated spots could see maybe a little bit more when the back end of the storm moves through. And I also want to point out that, even where there's a light coating of snow and the temperature drops below 32, you could have some slick spots. And that could be pretty much anywhere, particularly Triad region along the north of 85, where it climatologically is. And then that concern expands to the rest of the Piedmont Sandhills and maybe even the coastal plain as we head into the overnight hours, depending on how much of that changeover, how quickly it occurs, and where there's any even light coatings again tonight. Black ice, of course, that'll be a very localized problem, but temperature will rise above 10 a.m. tomorrow morning. So that should help end that fairly quickly. All right, and I've kind of already gone over the live radar there on the left side of this image, but the changeover from rain to snow is taking longer than we early expected, but eventually it'll occur this early evening, first across the Triad, then spreading eastward, and the changeover from rain to snow will continue to progress eastward through the evening hours, and you can see that as noted on the 7 p.m. graphic. The transition to snow will likely occur in the Triangle region and Sandhills region, maybe around or just after nightfall. And then this band of snow that's kind of highlighted there and in the blue on this image will be responsible for the majority of the light accumulation, if and where there is light accumulation. So any accumulations we get across central North Carolina they haven't happened already. So obviously it goes to say that they would occur this evening if they happen. Okay, and then the band of light snow will gradually shift east towards the coastal plain as we get into the late evening hours, and then the most widespread and steadiest precipitation is expected generally along and south of the 64 corridor. In terms of amounts, generally less than 1 inch for most places that see the snow. But again, we still don't want to rule out a few isolated spots where there's an uptick in intensity that could see at most maybe 1.5 inches, but those will be few and far between. By 2 a.m., it's getting out of here. It's pretty much dry, but again, just use caution if you have to drive overnight tonight, since even light snow accumulations, even a light coating, can cause slick spots on the roads, particularly overnight after the temperature drops below freezing. Speaking of freezing temperatures, here are the forecast lows for tonight. So temperatures will fall below freezing across most of the Piedmont and northern coastal plain by Saturday morning, and then near freezing elsewhere. Motorists should use extreme caution due to lingering areas of snow and slush on the roads and black ice. Areas that fall into the upper 20s will have the best chance of seeing that black ice. So that'll be basically along and west of US 1. Not to say that there won't be black ice elsewhere, but that's where it'll be the coldest. So anyway, keep in mind that even light snow accumulations could cause some slick spots, and that could be just about anywhere. Temperature climbing above freezing by 10 o'clock. All right, and we've tweaked this down even a little bit more than what we sent out at noon. Remember, I sent out these slides at noon with updated snowfall map, and we knocked this back even just a subtle amount. But hey, less than 1 inch is less than 1 inch, right? So there's the map doesn't really can't convey any finer detail than less than 1 inch, right? But anyway, as I alluded to earlier, somewhere across the central portion of the state, as that band comes through, I don't want to rule out that there's brief uptick, very localized uptick in intensities. Remember, it's all about intensity, and that could locally result in 1.5 inches. I don't know where that's going to happen, if it happens at all. Okay, it could be pretty much anywhere as that band moves across. So I just don't want folks would be surprised if, hey, you get up tomorrow morning and there's a little bit more of a coating in your grass and on top of your car than you thought there would have been. Most places will see less than 1 inch, though. Okay, so kind of wrapping this up, this has been a low confidence event just because the reasons we've alluded to already. Rain will gradually change Rain will gradually change the snow from west to east across central North Carolina as the evening progresses. The changeover will first occur across the Triad region in western Piedmont very late this afternoon, then changing over in the Triangle Sandhills region around nightfall, then the coastal plain and I-95 by 9 or 10 p.m. Snow will move east and end by midnight across the Triad and by 2 a.m. across the rest of central North Carolina. Event total snowfall amounts through tonight will be very light, generally less than an inch for most of central North Carolina, if you get any. However, there may be a few isolated heavier bands, again, that result in locally higher accumulations. We just don't have the ability to pinpoint exactly where that could happen. It'll be so few and far between, generally an inch to an inch and a half where that happens. But like I said, keep in mind, even light snow accumulations can cause slick spots on roads anywhere in the area. And then black ice should be done by 10 a.m. Where that does occur. Okay, so that wraps this up, and that wraps up our series of live webinar briefings. This will be our last one, the last live webinar. Okay, the next one will be our routine one on Monday at 11:30. So we'll be back at the routine ones Monday at 11:30 a.m. This will be the last live briefing for this event by our office. However, briefing slides, we'll continue to update those and email those out through the duration of the event, but as needed. So normally on this last slide here, we have a schedule saying when the next briefing will be emailed by, but right now, we're just going to send them out as conditions warrant. So anyway, this is the last webinar, and probably not the last briefing, but the last scheduled briefing. All right, so as always, if you have any questions along the way, you can feel free to give us a call.